Russian forces conducted a large-scale drone and missile strike, mainly targeting Ukrainian energy infrastructure on the night of May 31st to June 1st. Ukrainian Air Force Commander Lieutenant General Mykola Oleshchuk reported on June 1st that Russian forces launched 47 Shahed drones and 53 missiles. The strikes targeted energy facilities in Zaporizhia, Dnipropetrovsk, Donetsk, Kirovohrad, and Ivano-Frankivsk oblasts, critically damaging equipment and infrastructure. Ukrainian state-owned hydroelectric power plant regulator reported significant damage to unspecified HPPS, while DTEK noted severe damage to 2 thermal power plants. Russian mill bloggers claimed additional strikes on critical infrastructure across Ukraine. The current lack of clarity about U.S. restrictions on Ukraine's use of U.S.-provided weapons to strike military targets in Russian territory misses an opportunity to deter further Russian offensive efforts across the border into northern Ukraine. U.S. National Security Council Director for Europe Michael Carpenter stated on May 31st that the U.S. policy allows Ukrainian forces to strike certain Russian military targets in Russia to defend themselves. However, there is ambiguity about the authorization for cross-border strikes outside areas bordering Kharkiv Oblast, causing frustration among Ukrainian officials. This ambiguity may impact Ukraine's defensive and offensive operations against Russian forces. Individual Western governments are stipulating disparate policies about Ukraine's future use of Western-supplied F-16 fighter jets. Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo stated that Ukraine will only be able to use Belgian-supplied F-16s on Ukrainian territory. Dutch Defense Minister Kaja Ollongren, however, stated that the Netherlands has stipulated no restrictions on Ukraine's use of Dutch-supplied F-16s, as long as Ukraine follows international humanitarian law. These variations in policy may require Ukraine to track which aircraft it can use for specific operations, complicating its ability to plan and conduct aviation operations using F-16s effectively. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged that some Ukrainian reserve brigades remain under strength, and that the slow arrival of U.S. security assistance is complicating Ukrainian efforts to effectively commit reserves to ongoing defensive operations. Zelensky stated in an interview with The Guardian on June 1st that the arrival of U.S. security assistance has been slow and insufficient. Russian forces understand that Ukrainian forces have understrength reserves and have stretched Ukrainian forces along a wider front in eastern and northeastern Ukraine. The anticipated resumption of U.S. security assistance at scale to the front line in June or July 2024 may aid Ukrainian efforts to bolster their reserves. The Kremlin may decide to launch offensive operations in different Ukrainian border oblasts outside of Kharkiv Oblast if it believes it can continue to mass forces across the border without risk of Ukrainian strikes. Russian forces are also concentrating in Kursk and Bryansk oblasts, aiming to draw and fix Ukrainian forces to this area. Ukrainian forces would be forced to defend against such offensive operations before the U.S. grants explicit authorization for cross-border strikes outside of Kharkiv Oblast. This scenario would require Ukraine to reallocate resources, creating opportunities for Russian forces to exploit elsewhere in the theater.